The GPS voice was calm, almost too calm, when it said, "You've arrived." But there was nothing around her. No houses, no buildings, no streetlights. Just an endless stretch of dark road and the faint outline of trees pressing in from both sides. Sarah gripped the steering wheel tighter, her phone screen glowing in the silence, insisting she was exactly where she was supposed to be. But all she saw was emptiness. She leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. The dashboard clock read 11:47 p.m. Too late for comfort, too late to be stuck in a place like this. She replayed the moment in her mind. She had typed in the address carefully, double-checked it twice. Her best friend's new house, a simple dinner invitation, nothing unusual. And yet here she was, in the middle of nowhere, her GPS swearing this was the destination. Her heart began to race. She reached for her phone again, hoping maybe the signal had dropped. But the bars were full. The map was crystal clear, the little blued, sitting right on top of the pin that marked her arrival. She whispered to herself, "This can't be right." Then something flickered in her headlights. A shape, quick, too fast to aim, crossing the road just a few feet ahead. She slammed the brakes, breath catching in her throat. But when the car stopped, there was nothing there. Just the hum of the engine and the suffocating silence of the woods. Her phone buzzed. A notification slid across the screen, a text message. She frowned. It was from an unknown number, for words that made her blood run cold. "Don't get out. Wait." Sarah's fingers trembled as she locked the doors. How could anyone know where she was? Who sent that message? And wait for what? The road behind her stretched into blackness. The forest in front of her seemed to breathe. And for the first time, she realized she wasn't sure if she had been guided here by mistake or by design. And then, just as she tried to calm her shaking hands, the GPS spoke again. This time, in a voice she didn't recognize. "Turn off your engine." Sarah's pulse pounded in her ears as the unfamiliar voice from her GPS echoed in the silence. "Turn off your engine." The words didn't sound digital. They sounded human. Calm, steady, and far too real. Her first instinct was to laugh it off, to tell herself the machine had glitched, that she was simply exhausted after a long day. But deep down, she knew something was wrong. This wasn't just about a broken GPS. Someone knew where she was. Someone was guiding her. As her fingers hovered over the ignition key, Sarah's mind drifted back to earlier that week. Her best friend, Emily, had been oddly insistent she come over for dinner. The address had been texted with a smiley face, almost too cheerful for someone she hadn't seen in months. Sarah had brushed it off, but now, in the pitch-black emptiness of this strange road, she wondered if the message had even come from Emily at all. The memory of her father came rushing back, his constant warnings when she first learned to drive. Never trust GPS blindly, Sarah. Technology can be tricked. People can be watching. At the time, she'd rolled her eyes, but now she found herself whispering those words aloud, as though saying them might protect her. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from the same unknown number. "We know you can see us." Her breath caught. She forced herself to glance into the trees beyond the headlights. For a moment, there was only darkness. But then, movement. A shadow. Tall. Still. Watching. Sarah locked eyes with her own reflection in the rearview mirror. Her face looked pale, unfamiliar, as though fear itself had reshaped her features. She couldn't shake the thought. What if the real destination wasn't the house? What if this road was always the plan? Her chest tightened. Memories of Emily's voice messages replayed in her head. The slight hesitation in her tone, the way she almost whispered the address, like she was reading it from somewhere instead of saying it naturally. Could Emily have been in trouble? Could she have been forced to lure Sarah here? The questions twisted into knots in her mind. Every possibility felt worse than the last. She reached for the gear shift, ready to turn the car around, when her headlights flickered. Once, twice. Then they cut out completely, plunging her into darkness. The only light left was the glow of her phone screen. Still open, still waiting, as though whoever was behind the messages knew she had no other way out. And in that moment, Sarah realized she wasn't just lost. She was being cornered. Sarah's hands trembled on the steering wheel, her knuckles white against the faint glow of her phone. The forest seemed to press in tighter with every second, as if it were alive, listening, waiting. The shadow she thought she saw between the trees lingered in her mind, a silent predator in the dark. She tried dialing Emily again, desperate for a familiar voice, but the call didn't go through. No signal. She whispered Emily's name like a prayer, clinging to the memory of her best friend's laughter, of all the times they'd sworn nothing could come between them. Now, that bond felt like the only thing keeping her from completely unraveling. But then doubt crept in. What if Emily had betrayed her? The thought sliced deeper than fear itself. Could the one person she trusted most have let her here? Sarah hated herself for even thinking it, but the unease was impossible to shake. Her mind spun back to the text. "We know you can see us." It wasn't just intimidation. It was a game. Whoever they were, they wanted her to hesitate, to crumble under her own fear. She started the engine again, her heart pounding as the headlights sputtered back to life. The beam cut through the darkness just far enough to reveal something that made her blood run cold. Fresh tire tracks in the mud ahead of her, leading deeper into the woods. They weren't hers. Someone else had driven this path tonight. Sarah bit her lip hard enough to taste blood. A choice was forming in her mind. Follow the tracks and risk walking into a trap, or turn back toward the highway, where help might be hours away. Both options could kill her. Both options could save her. Her father's voice echoed again, the one that always warned her about blind trust. But another memory surfaced too, the night her mother disappeared. Sarah was only 10. The police ruled it as an accident. Lost on a trip, never found. Yet Sarah had always believed there was more to it, something covered up, something her father never told her. The mystery of her mother's vanishing had shaped Sarah's every decision since. And tonight, sitting in that car with her pulse racing, she couldn't shake the sense that this moment was tied to that old wound. She pressed her forehead against the steering wheel, whispering, "What do you want from me?" But the forest gave no answer. Then her phone buzzed again. A new message appeared. No words this time, just a photo. Her car. Her. Taken from behind, only seconds ago. Her breath hitched as she whipped around in the seat, scanning the darkness. No one. Nothing but trees and shadows. And yet someone had been close enough to touch her. A tear rolled down her cheek, but she wiped it away angrily. She couldn't afford a breakdown now. Fear was what they wanted. Fear was how they controlled her. But deep inside, Sarah knew she wasn't just running from strangers. She was running toward answers she'd been avoiding her entire life. Sarah's pulse thundered in her ears as she clutched the phone tighter, staring at the photo of her car. Her breath came in sharp bursts, the air inside the vehicle suffocating. She twisted again, searching the woods beyond the glass, convinced she'd see a figure emerge. Nothing, just darkness swallowing the trees. She locked the doors, but even that felt meaningless. Whoever was out there had already been close enough to take that picture, close enough to watch her. Her mind screamed at her to drive away. Yet the fresh tire tracks on the muddy road pulled her in like a magnet. They were the only sign of life out here, the only clue. And Sarah wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. She needed answers. She eased the car forward, following the trail. The forest thickened. Branches scraped across the roof with shrill, metallic cries. Her headlights flickered again, dimming as if the darkness was feeding on them. Every bump in the dirt road made her grip the wheel tighter, jaw clenched. The phone buzzed again. Another text. Her stomach dropped as she opened it. Almost home. Her throat tightened. Home. She lived alone in the city. No one else should know what that word meant to her. Unless this wasn't random. Unless this was connected to her past. The image of her mother flickered in her mind again. That smile. That sudden disappearance. All those years of silence from her father whenever she asked for the truth. Was this night, the shadows, the messages, the games, somehow tied to that buried secret? Her hand shook as she gripped the wheel. She thought of Emily again. Should she have told her best friend about tonight? About the note, the shadows, the fear? Or had Emily already known? That thought cut her deeper than the forest claws against her car. She drove further until the road opened into a clearing. Her headlights illuminated something that made her blood chill. An old wooden cabin, half collapsed, its windows black. And in the dirt outside, footprints, fresh, circling like someone had been waiting for her. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a call. Blocked number. Her hand hovered over the screen. She swallowed hard and answered. For a moment, silence. Then, a voice she hadn't heard in over a decade. A voice she thought was gone forever. Sarah, it whispered. Don't trust them. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Mom, she gasped. The line cut out. She nearly dropped the phone, staring at the cabin, her chest heaving. Was it real? A cruel trick? Or had her mother just spoken to her from beyond the grave? Or worse, from the shadows around her? Her headlights flickered out completely, plunging her into blackness. And somewhere in that dark clearing, footsteps crunched against the dirt. Getting closer. The footsteps grew louder, deliberate, crunching the dirt in steady rhythm. Sarah's breath caught as she pressed herself against the seat, clutching the phone as though it might protect her. The cabin loomed ahead like a black mouth waiting to swallow her whole. Then, a figure stepped into her fading headlights. It wasn't a stranger. It was Emily. Sarah's best friend stood there in the clearing, her face pale, eyes wide, drenched in shadows. Relief should have washed over Sarah, but it didn't. Something about the way Emily was looking at her was wrong. Too calm, too knowing. Sarah fumbled for the lock button, but Emily raised a hand, signaling for her to wait. Slowly, she stepped closer until her figure was framed by the dim glow of the dashboard. You shouldn't have come here alone, Emily said softly. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with something else. Guilt. Sarah's mind raced. Emily knew. She knew about the texts, the photos, the cabin. What are you doing here? Sarah's voice cracked. Emily's expression flickered, torn between friend and stranger. I was trying to protect you, she whispered, but you wouldn't let it go. You kept asking about your mother, about that night, and now they know. The words hit Sarah like ice water. They? Who were they? Before Sarah could answer, the phone in her hand lit up again. Another message, but this one wasn't from the unknown number. It was from Emily's number. Don't trust her. Her stomach flipped. The screen glowed between them like a cruel joke. Sarah lifted her gaze, locking eyes with Emily, who had clearly seen the message too. Sarah, listen to me, Emily pleaded, stepping closer. It's not what you think. They're watching us. I didn't want you dragged into this. I tried to keep you away. Then why are you here? Sarah snapped, her voice sharper now, her fear bubbling into anger. Emily opened her mouth to answer, but the cabin door creaked open. Both women froze. Inside, a faint glow spilled from within, flickering like candlelight. A shadow shifted in the doorway. Tall, still, watching. Sarah's phone buzzed again, vibrating so violently she almost dropped it. She glanced at the screen. A new message. Come inside. See the truth. Her pulse thundered. Her mother's voice. Emily's betrayal. The figure in the cabin. Everything was crashing together, and Sarah couldn't tell what was real anymore. Emily grabbed her wrist suddenly. Don't go in there, she hissed, her voice urgent now. If you do, you'll never come back out. Sarah's hand tightened on the door handle. Torn between her best friend's warning and the chance to finally uncover what had haunted her family for years, she froze in the moment, knowing whichever choice she made could cost her everything. And from the shadows of the cabin, the figure finally spoke. Sarah, we've been waiting. Sarah's fingers trembled on the car door handle. Emily's grip tightened around her wrist, but Sarah yanked free, her voice breaking into the night. I need to know the truth. Emily's face crumpled. Please, Sarah, once you step inside, there's no undoing it. But the cabin door creaked wider, releasing a wave of candlelight that spilled across the clearing. The shadow inside shifted again, and this time Sarah heard it, a voice, low and unmistakably familiar. Sarah, her mother's voice. Her heart lurched painfully. She stumbled from the car, barely feeling the cold air against her skin. Emily called after her, desperate, but Sarah kept walking, drawn toward that voice as though it had a rope tied around her chest. The floorboards groaned when she stepped into the cabin. The smell of damp wood and old smoke filled her nose. Candles lined the table, their flames twitching as if alive. And at the center of the room sat a figure in shadow. Her mother. She looked older, frilier, but undeniably her. Tears burned Sarah's eyes. "Mom." The woman nodded slowly. "You finally came." Sarah's throat tightened. 1,000 questions clawed at her, but only one made it out. "Why?" Her mother's eyes glistened. "Because you were never supposed to know. Emily was meant to keep you away, but you kept digging. And now," she gestured toward the table, "you've arrived." On the table lay a stack of photographs. Sarah's breath hitched when she saw them. Every one was of her. Sleeping, walking home, sitting in her car. Some from years ago, some from just days ago. And at the bottom of the pile, the photo from tonight. Sarah in her bed, the timestamp reading only minutes before she woke. Her knees went weak. "Who's taking these?" Her mother's lips parted, but before she could speak, Emily stormed inside. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice cracking. "She doesn't need to be part of this." Sarah whirled around, confusion and betrayal burning her chest. "Part of what?" Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Your family's been watching you. Always. Protecting you, but also controlling you. And now they want you to take her place." Her stomach dropped. Her place. Her mother's face softened with sorrow. The one who watches. The one who guards. Someone must always carry it on. "Sarah, that's why you were called here." The flames flickered violently, casting her mother's shadow taller, more distorted, stretching across the walls like something inhuman. "No," Sarah whispered, backing away. Emily grabbed her shoulders, shaking. "You can still leave. But if you do, they'll follow you forever. The only way out is in." Sarah's eyes darted between Emily's trembling face and her mother's shadowed figure. The walls seemed to pulse with unseen eyes. And then, her phone buzzed. One last message lit the screen. "You've already chosen." The candle flames all went out at once. Darkness swallowed the cabin. The silence after the candles went out felt endless. Sarah's pulse thundered in her ears as she tried to steady her breathing. Somewhere in the blackness, Emily's voice broke the stillness. "Sarah, it's over." When the lights returned, only a faint glow of dawn pressed through the cracks in the cabin walls. The photographs were still on the table, but the chair where her mother had sat was empty. Not a trace remained. No shadow, no warmth, nothing but the faint smell of smoke lingering in the air. Sarah staggered forward, clutching one of the photos in her hand. Her mother's words echoed. Someone must always carry it on. But no one was there now. The choice that had loomed so heavily seemed to vanish with the darkness. Emily leaned against the doorway, her face pale and drained. "They're gone," she whispered. "At least for now." Sarah met her eyes. For the first time, she saw the pain buried behind Emily's loyalty. "You knew all along." Emily nodded, her voice trembling. "I tried to keep you safe. I thought if I distracted you, if I made you doubt yourself, you'd never come here. But I couldn't stop the pull. It was always meant to bring you." Sarah looked back at the photographs, then at the light of morning stretching into the room. "Then maybe the cycle is broken. Maybe I don't have to take her place." The words surprised even her. But as she said them, something inside felt lighter. She had stared directly into the legacy of fear, and though it had threatened to claim her, she had walked out alive. Outside, the forest looked different in daylight. What had seemed suffocating and haunted now stood quiet, almost serene. Birds called softly from the branches above. The same path that had felt like a trap now felt like a release. Sarah turned the photo over in her hands one last time. Then she tucked it into her jacket pocket, not as a burden, but as proof. Proof that she had seen the truth and chosen not to be consumed by it. Emily stepped beside her, her expression a mix of guilt and relief. "So what now?" Sarah took a deep breath, the morning air filling her lungs. "Now I live my life. No more running from shadows. No more letting the past decide who I become." She glanced once more at the cabin, already fading into the trees like a memory. A bittersweet ache tugged at her chest, but she walked forward anyway. Some mysteries never get solved. Some answers never arrive. But sometimes surviving, choosing to keep going, is the only resolution you need. As Sarah reached the car, she whispered to herself, almost like a promise, "Not everything that watches you has power over you." And with that, she drove away, the rising sun cutting through the fog, her story not ending but beginning again.